Sir! Diego!
Skip, you're right. What the hell did we do now?
You know, I came up with the conceit of throwing them out of time in different time periods. And to do that meant they had to sort of form other relationships with other people. Klaus starts a cult, Allison gets married, Luther finds a surrogate father. It was really important to develop those stories. So they were tricky because, you know, each of those new characters had to sort of still work within our world until the family finds themselves again and sort of regroups, probably even stronger than they did in season 1.
What was that?
The end of the world, November 25th, 1963.
For the most part, 5 is trying to put out fires. You see, the landscape of the second season is sort of spangled with little problems that he has to jump around, and his siblings have been there for like a year or so. So they've done considerable damage to the timeline. So 5's main priorities: get out as quickly as possible, try and prevent the end of the world in 1960, then jump back to 2019 and try and prevent the end of the world there. And as his anxiety builds up, so does the chaos behind his eyes.
We find him lost, trapped in an insane asylum, and obviously with a purpose of trying to maybe change the timeline, you know, having the capability of proving his father wrong and also maybe understanding him a little bit. And then everything kind of just goes bonkers when 5 decides to show up again.
Allison can rumor anyone to do anything.
Except she never uses it.
I heard a rumor. You punched yourself in the face.
First and foremost, I think she's in shock. Running into the diner and seeing the whites only sign. I think she might not know exactly where in the world she is, but I think she knows exactly where she's not supposed to be because of the color of her skin. Coming from the 21st century, sure, she has faced prejudice and racism on some level, 100%, but I think, you know, legally not being allowed to be places is, you know, it has got to be absolutely terrifying. And then, you know, I think she's quickly noticing and realizing that her family is nowhere in sight, that she has no idea where Claire could possibly be, and she doesn't have her voice. And I also think, you know, she's definitely in shock of her like immediate surroundings. The reality of, you know, having a Black woman literally fall into the 60s in the segregated South.
I think it's a big shock to his system. He valued his own role in what he thought he should be doing, but ultimately I think he realizes that he was a bit too power hungry, I suppose, and a lot of the decisions he made weren't the best ones. It's a big come down to earth for Luther, I think. But also it's something that he needed. I think out of a lot of them, he needed it the most, actually, to be brought back down to earth and to see what the real world is, regardless of what time period that is. And he needs to know what it's like to have to work for a living and to feel what it's like to be at the bottom of the bottom rung of the ladder. So he had to find his own identity outside the academy, and this is a perfect opportunity for him to do that, and I think he learns from it.
I think where we find her, she's very different. You know, she's released a lot of emotion and repressed trauma, and so we find her in a space that's much lighter. She's much more open, able to connect to her emotions, and after getting hit by a car by a sissy and being invited into their home, I think she does actually feel a lot of comfort there and cared for. Of course, it's difficult for her because she's feeling like, does anybody care? Is anybody trying to find me, you know, and feeling lost in that sense. But in so many ways, she's way less lost than she was in the first season.
The novelty of being adored and worshipped by all these thousands of people is sort of very, very quickly worn off. And he realizes that being number one, if you will, is a real drag and a real sort of drain on one's independence and autonomy. So he's sort of back to escaping again. It's like sobriety was his cult in the first series, you know, and drugs was his escape. Whereas his escape in the second series is just running with his legs.
I think through the evolution and progression of Klaus's powers, Ben gains a lot more agency and independence in the second season and is able to really fight for what he wants, obviously with the help of Klaus, but sort of also separate from that as well. So it's a really fun and exciting season.
Klaus, is Ben here?
No, unfortunately, ghosts can't time travel.
Are you kidding me?
Do we get to learn more about Ben's backstory this season?
All I can say is there are some hints, and you do learn a little more. If I say anything more, I will be put into...
Like John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.